Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. I mean, they just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching. Thanks as always to the producer of our series, Jeff Durall. We're at the Hayes High School Library with Jessica Butte, the Hayes High science teacher and 2016 Kansas Master Teacher, one of 7 master teachers across Kansas for the year 2016. Well, congratulations, first of all, Jessica.
Thank you, Mike.
That's a rare honor, believe me.
Oh, I understand, and I'm very humbled to be able to even be nominated, not only nominated, but then selected.
Your honor will be bestowed April 6th at Emporia State University. You are the 8th Hayes High winner since 1954, but only a couple of, actually Hayes winners, but only a couple from Hayes High, right?
That is right.
That's pretty exclusive company. Always like to ask Jessica, what makes a good teacher? Have you thought about that particular area and filling out the application forms and everything?
Oh, very much so. The application was very, very self-directed to where you had to go through that. So I believe that a good teacher has to be someone that is committed to kids, someone that is, especially at the high school level, committed to their discipline and in it for spreading knowledge, having, being very into education and making that their number one priority.
You're committed to not only their learning capacity, but also their socialization and all of the things that go into making a young adult into a functioning citizen.
Absolutely. Making sure that they have a well-rounded knowledge to be able to make decisions. That's extremely important.
What's your secret to motivating students' interest in science?
Well, first off, science in general, you have to get them, you have to have a hook. You have to get them involved. We're very lucky to where we can have laboratories, we can do simulations, we can have a lot of active engagement, and so that lends itself to interaction and being something that the kids enjoy.
Those labs really are a hands-on type of thing to get the kids engaged, aren't they?
Oh, very much so. But then you also have to have those individual connections. The kids need to feel safe. You know, like you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they have to be safe before they can have the capacity of learning. And so they have to know that you're there for them. They have to feel emotionally safe, physically safe, and then they can actually start grasping the material. And if you keep yourself energetic, you model that desire to learn, then I think it kind of carries over to the students as well.
So the students can talk to you about science, but they can also talk to you about personal things as well.
Absolutely. I think that's also a big influence of being involved not only in the classroom, but as a sponsor.
How about your length of time here at Hayes High? What brought you here?
Well, I was a student here. Then I went to Fort Hayes and I student taught here. And it just happened to be an opening at the end of my student teaching career. I had applied other places, but this is where I wanted to be. This was the premiere of Western Kansas, and I wanted to be involved in that.
It was meant to be, it sounds like. It really was.
Yeah.
What's the best part of teaching, Jessica?
Oh, there's so many positives of teaching. You get to really learn your discipline, and I think all teachers have to love to learn. They have to be lifelong learners, and being able to teach and teach a variety of different things. Every year there's something new. You get it's dynamic. Every year is a new opportunity to a new start, new students, new chance to make those connections, to learn more. That's a great part about being a teacher. Being helpful in students' lives, seeing them grow, that's amazing. Seeing them mature. I've taught freshmen for 12 years, and so being able to see them progress, and now those students are coming back for class reunions, and it's very rewarding.
And you get input from those returning students as to the influences you've made.
Well, yes, and I know the influences of my past teachers, and I just hope that I can do the same thing for those students.
You moved from actually middle school, Felton Middle School, and high school English to science. That's quite a transition. How did that occur?
Well, that was mid-career. I started up here at the high school, and like I said, I had taught ninth grade for a long time. And then 4 years ago, was the end of the school year, I got a phone call from Dr. Roth. I had been taking some classes in ESL, which is English for Speakers of Other Languages, and because I'd seen the dynamics of my classroom change, and I knew that I needed to focus not what I was teaching, but how I was teaching to be able to reach a greater breadth of student. So I started taking those classes, and when he made the phone call saying that we had an opening for secondary ESL, I need you to do that. And as an educator, you just say, okay, I'll do that, and I will do the best that I can. So I was split between middle school and high school ESL, and I taught English for 2 years, and then there were some retirements at the high school, and they allowed for me to then come back into the science classroom. So I've only been back for 2 years.
Has science been your first love?
Oh, very much so. Science and math. I have some aunts and uncles that teach math. I have I guess it's kind of in the blood to do education, but very interested in math. And I always tell the students, science is just math that's applied. It actually has application to it, so it's really one and the same.
And that kind of situation kind of rubs off on you a little bit, doesn't it?
Yes, it sure does.
I think maybe some of that may translate to your students too, Jessica.
I hope so.
So you were nominated by the building, and the application process gave you a chance to kind of introspect, if you will. Tell us about that process.
It couldn't have come at a better time. As an educator, you're always looking at what you can do better. You're always kind of focusing on the negative and what didn't work, and how you can fix that. And it starts to get pretty glum. And so having this nomination and being introspective, looking at all of the positive things that you do, it doesn't happen very often. And having to write that down, and then you start seeing, you know what, I do a lot more positive things, and there are a lot more successes that happen in the classroom than those small little failures. That, you know, the focus seemed to change, and like I said, it couldn't have happened at a better time because it was a rejuvenation of sorts.
And that's why once in a while, if a parent or a student says, yeah, I get this, or yeah, my student is really doing well in your class, that can mean so much, because like most other things, you only hear the negative, it seems like sometimes.
That is so true.
So your influence to go into teaching, you mentioned some family members, any teachers or anything that stand out?
Oh, yes. I would say every teacher that I've had, K through post-secondary, everyone has given a wonderful model. I think back specifically to individual elementary teachers and middle school teachers, some of those to which I then became colleagues, and that's quite an experience. Modeling both, you know, I should say discipline in the classroom, content in the classroom. I have to go that yes, my biggest influence would be prior teachers, then onto my family, and my parents have always been extremely supportive in everything I've ever done, always modeling that that educational philosophy and how that was a priority. And I felt that teaching was a premier profession.
So important because these teachers make a positive impact. Our producer, Jeff Durall, said that he remembers teachers that made positive impacts on him in both discipline and in classroom, which was sorely needed in some instances, believe me. So rather than teaching, how come there wasn't a direction to go to the Power Rangers? That's a story that has to be told, Jessica.
That is a story that with a lot of coincidence involved. The truths are, yes, I was very actively involved in martial arts, and yes, I won like a grand champion type of award where all of the champions of the tournament competed against each other, and I did win that. It would have been early 90s. Yes, I got a business card from someone out in California, to which happened to produce the Power Rangers. Whether that was all coincidence, nobody knows. But it's just it's a crazy story that the students, I think, once heard, and it just spread.
And now it doesn't ever go away, does it?
That is correct.
It's quite a story, though. Now, as you're probably, I'm sure, aware, the Kansas legislature is addressing deleting Common Core standards from education in Kansas. There's a House bill now that's coming forward. What would you say to legislators? Math and science particularly would be impacted by this, to where there would be no further testing, that the federal standards would not be used. Kansas would, and legislature would have a final decision on what would be taught. What would you say to legislators as a science educator?
As a science educator, I don't even know where to start. First off, they're essentially eliminating the Kansas Board of Education, which that's their sole role. The legislators themselves have so much other things that they need to deal with. We need to elect a Board of Education to where that is their sole responsibility. There has been so much money spent, millions of dollars spent on curriculum, on books, on everything that would bring us to a common educational core of needs, and that would unite all of our states, which would be great. Looking at Kansas curriculum versus Colorado and Nebraska and Oklahoma, there needs to be a standard, and it's just unbelievable that they would consider thinking that we needed to retract that.
And these standards developed by educators themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not going to, no disrespect to my husband, but I'm not going to have my husband with very little knowledge in electricity and electrical engineering, plot out the city grid without input. I mean,
professional input
exactly.
from people who are in the trenches, basically.
Absolutely. Or I myself am not going to try and direct a ballet because I have no background in that. I don't know what is needed. Now, granted, I can get that, but we need to use the school board that is there. We need to use the school board for what it's intended, its intention.
Use those resources that are already in place.
Absolutely.
Including the Board of Education and our local educators.
Yes.
Finally, Jessica, in our last moment, if you would, talk to parents, and we always ask educators, how can they help their students succeed?
You bet.
What can parents do to help you and their students?
Oh, as a teacher, parents, you just need to get involved in your students' education. You need to make communication with the teachers. Communication is of utmost importance. You need to communicate in those negative times, but also in those positive times. Let teachers know what's going on at home, because we see your students, especially at the high school, for an hour and a half every day, and we have no idea what's going on outside of class, but if we can be of any help, that would be great. Practice with your kids, ask them what's going on in the classroom, show them that you value education, show them that what they are doing is important. Just stay involved.
Jessica Butte, Hayes High science teacher, 2016 Kansas Master Teacher, our community connection.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the Angel Care nurse comes to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel Care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.